Good morning and welcome to our program, Vibe Talk Facing the Lion. We're here with you every day, and you can find us streaming. Go check us out. We are Vibe Talk Facing the Lion podcast. Look for our logo. We're here with you, and we appreciate so much your being able to be here with us interactively. Vibe Talk is also on YouTube, and that is where you'll find us. Go check out our YouTube channel. If you like Vibe Talk Facing the Lion, our channel is there exclusively. We are so proud to have all of our videos up. We are still putting them up, and you can listen to us anytime. Well, you know what Wednesday Wellness is, or Wellness Wednesday. Either or is always great. This Wednesday Wellness, we're going to talk about forgiveness and moving on. Forgiveness and how to move on from that. We're here with you, and we are going to be able to share with you, I think, some well-needed things. So please stay tuned for our program, Wednesday Wellness. We're here with you. Okay. We have technical difficulty. We're working on our technical issues. We are here. So Wednesday Wellness, again, is on the topic of forgiveness. And I think it does us well to think about forgiveness. Not only are we people that have done things to other people that needs forgiveness, but how many times have we done something to ourselves that we need forgiveness for? You know, it's important that we do this. So we're going to get right into the conversation. Welcome, Trish. Welcome and good morning.
Good morning.
So, today's thought is inspired from forgiving and moving on means leaving it there. Holding on to anger keeps you stuck in the past, mentally and emotionally. Replaying old arguments in your mind means you lose again. Reminiscing about the past makes you miss the present. The only way to move forward in life and leave the past behind is to give as much attention as possible to the present. Build new memories, moment by moment, day by day. Allow your new life to take shape, uncluttered by snapshots from the past. How do we do that? If you would believe it or not, there are many people who have yet to forgive themselves. Wednesday Wellness is getting well, being well, and staying well. And we bid you to get well soon. You're hanging out with Vibe Talk. What are you all thankful for? Or what have you been thankful for? We have moved into a new day. What are you thankful for, really? I am thankful for being able to finally get a car. I've been without a car for some months now, and I'm going car shopping today. So I'm thankful to be able to do that. Trish, what are you thankful for? And the rest of you can always, when you see our video on our channels, you can put what you're thankful for.
I'm thankful that it's spring break and I get a chance to relax and work on some music. So, yeah.
Yay for that. By the way, you can see Trisha's music on Trisha's Treasure, and she has her YouTube channel as well. Trish, you can put all the information there, as well as the information for today's show. We're on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. Our discussions, our podcast is running constantly. If you haven't got enough of us, we're steady doing new things. There's still much to be recorded on my end, so just watch for our discussions. Also, on our reels, check out our reels. Our latest reel for Vibe Talk After Dark, almost 500 likes. Thank you for that. So, by the way, you can see us on Vibe Talk After Dark, hosting your radio show. And just in case you missed it, you can go find it. It's on YouTube. It is recorded for you. And you can build together with me a playlist by you're adding a smooth, chill song. And our tag is, what song can I play for you? So you can already do that. If you want to text into the show or call us directly, 661-503-8993. There you have it. We're going to be right back. Stay tuned. Go check your favorite streaming platforms. Feel free to be interactive and tell us your stories. Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Music, YouTube, and Mixcloud. We're also on Facebook and Instagram. Go give it a shot. Now we're going to talk about forgiveness. Why are we going to talk about forgiveness? Because so many of us look at forgiveness as we got to hang out with the people, we got to stay stuck. That is, if you don't forgive. And I used to always think, well, why should I forgive somebody that really hurt me? Why should I forgive this broken marriage or this broken relationship? Well, Forgiveness is for your healing. Come a little closer. Forgiveness is for your healing. You. Because you see, as you are learning the steps to forgive, doesn't mean that you're creating space for the person to come and hurt you again. Okay, we're going to talk about you first and what it creates for you. Because you might be genuinely upset, even damaged by another. But we want you to realize that forgiveness is part of your healing journey. Always remember that. If you felt like you were hurt or victimized, you start to process it in a different light. That makes you well. There's no excuse for anyone to hurt, victimize, or harm you. That's not what we're saying today. We are talking about being able to mindset ourselves through processing changed feelings. I'll tell you something. When I have been hurt by something or someone, I have learned why I need to forgive on a spiritual level and also on a sociological level. Because when you look at the people that may have harmed you, or you have harmed, or unintentionally or even intentionally, everybody rises differently. Everyone rises differently. Good morning, and please let us know where you're listening in from. Love the orange and yellow hearts. Thank you so much. Where are you listening in from? And thank you for joining us. We are talking about forgiveness. Please feel free, you guys, to use your chat boxes to interact. Your conversation is important and your feelings are important. And um, you are from, well, let me get this. Listening from Lithuania? Wow. Love it. Welcome. There you go. We would love for you to go and check out our Facebook page so that you can stay up with us and what we're doing, as well as our social media pages, Vibe Talk Facing the Lion. So forgiving. Let me ask you all a question. How easy is it for you to forgive someone? How easy is it for you to forgive someone? Trish, we'll start with you and those who are listening as part of our audience. If you want to interact, you may. How easy is it for you to forgive?
It's easy for me to forgive someone, but if they if they hit me in a way where it's so deep, like if it hurts like very bad, I say I forgive them, but in reality I'm still upset. So it's easy, it depends on the situation, but for in general, I think it's easy for me to forgive people.
Oh, yeah. No worries. You don't have to be sorry. We're glad you're here. Our audience member says it's easy to forget, but never, no, it's easy to forgive, but never forget. And most of us feel like that. You always will remember. And you know what that's called? That's called your boundary. It's like a trigger spot. You could forgive that person, but you will have lost some sort of trust. You will remember, you will be triggered, and that's so true, and I'm speaking from experience. We're going to talk about us forgiving ourselves and forgiving others. And for me, it got better over the years. I was even at a spot in my life where I didn't forgive myself. Back then, I couldn't understand what it was that I needed to forgive. We'll get into that as we go. And we want to say thank you in advance for everyone coming into our virtual room. If you'd like to have a one-on-one with me and speak on a more personal level, all you need is your video and us to be able to know that you're a real person, and you can call us or text us 661-503-8993. So, forgiveness. How does it work? Releasing feelings of resentment toward a person who has harmed you, regardless of them deserving it. How many people, and if you're a listener, how many of you have actually forgiven yourself for things? How many are working on that? And there's no judgment here. Anybody working on forgiving yourselves? I went through a really hard time of doing that, and we'll get into that before today's podcast is over. Forgiving yourself, you know. Sometimes we blame ourselves for what went wrong when we had no way of knowing what went wrong. I had a hard time forgiving myself when I had my very first miscarriage. What went wrong? What went wrong? What went wrong? I had a second one as well, and I think they both hit me really hard, but to lose an unborn child, I thought it was something that I did. And I'll tell you, going through much counseling about that has helped me understand that sometimes that happens. It isn't what I did. Isn't what I did. I had to work through losing my very first unborn child. Maybe that's not your scenario, but you're working through those feelings. And we are reading your comments, so please send them. Our audience member says, I used to be very addicted to drugs, and I hurt myself, my friends, family. I decided to change myself. Love that. Love that. Love that. I want to thank you in advance for being so honest, because that's what it takes. When you come to Vibe Talk, you learn the honesty of it all. You learn raw truth from other people, and you're able to say, wow, I can relate. And that's what we're going to talk about. We want you to be able to use this as your tool to think about your feelings, okay? We really want you to think about that. You said, now I'm in the army serving your country. Good. Thank you, thank you, thank you for sharing that. When did you notice the change in you, may I ask? Really going to get down to forgiveness, because at the time I didn't know how to forgive myself. Today we're going to have you think about your healing process. When we think about our forgiveness and forgiveness toward others, the first thing that we must do, ladies and gentlemen, forgiving ourselves. Forgiving ourselves. And today, I want you to do something, and it's part of our workshop here. I want you to take out your devices, whatever you have to write with, and I want you to write the word forgive. 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 And under that word, I want you to write 3 things that you want to forgive yourself for. 3. Okay? Just 3. If you don't have 3, 1 is sufficient enough. As you think about that forgiveness part of yourself, what do you need to forgive? That's the first part. And I want you to go to step number 2. Who is the person, if there is a person, that you need to forgive? Again, who is the person that you need to forgive? And it could be anyone, okay? Just like the first. It can be anyone, anything, or any place. Moving on. Step 3. Are you willing to be free as you forgive yourself and or others? Are you willing to be free? How does that feel in your power to be free? Think about that as you write. Today is Wednesday Wellness. You say, yes, of course, I realized that those drugs were killing me and I was hurting my body physically and mentally. I don't like the person I was becoming. Have you forgiven yourself? Because, people take drugs because of hurting. They're trying to heal a wound, or they're trying to escape pain. Have you forgiven yourself? Thanks for the hearts. I appreciate that. See, we're doing a workshop here, and as long as you hear our podcast, you can get in the workshop. Cost you nothing. We do take voluntary donations if you ever want to do such a thing to anybody. If you want to volunteer donations, you may do that, but we don't ask you to pay to come, because we're into the healing business. We're no doctors, but we want you to well yourself, get on the healing journey. Okay? We're going to discuss other factors of healing. We all need to heal, all of us, from some point. You see, when we don't forgive, ladies and gentlemen, it affects us, our mental and emotional state. How many of you knew that it affects you? Trish, are you still here? Okay. Just hang on just a moment. Okay, sorry, ladies and gentlemen, we are having some difficulty here. So there you are. There are reasons that we feel the way we do, so don't let anybody intimidate you or judge you. When we think about, like I said, letting go and being free, when you forgive, that's your healing. And you leave that in the past. None of us really count. None of us count how many people we actually have to forgive, or how many people have to forgive us. But I'll tell you what, when you learn to do it, it's exhilarating. It lifts us into freedom. And this is where you find freedom. Here's a quote. When you hate, the only one that suffers is you. Because most of the people you hate don't know it. And the rest don't care. How many of you believe that to be true?
I do.
Because, yeah, and how do you feel about that? Knowing that?
It makes sense to me because when I despised someone, I would get so upset because they didn't care. And I was the one that was hurting in that situation. I was the one that was so mad when they were worrying about their own life. So I get that.
Yeah, yeah. When you forgive someone, are you guys aware that the other person doesn't need to be there to forgive? Many people, ladies and gentlemen, that I've dealt with in life have passed away, and people actually didn't forgive the person until they passed away. Now, we can pass judgment, but this is not the podcast for that. But there are some scenarios. Why did they wait? Maybe because they've had some healing time to think and reflect. Maybe they started to rethink since the person is no longer here. Maybe that was freedom for them not to ever have to look at the person. We're being real here because we don't cut corners in Vibe Talk Facing the Lion podcast. It's all about facing that lion of forgiveness. But the person doesn't have to be here. So if you didn't forgive the person while they were alive and they passed away, you're not to be judged for that. If you're still working on forgiveness as the person is living, you will start to heal in ways that you never thought you could. I actually, people that have hurt me deeply because of my own need to forgive, because of what I was doing to my body, mentally and emotionally, the person didn't know that I disliked them as much as I did. But when I started to see this person have ailments and things happening in their life, it softened me. Which lets me know that I had a heart that wanted to forgive. Because when people are stricken with illness, you know what we don't say? I'm so glad they got that after everything they've done. Because we shouldn't wish that on anybody. But I learned through the person's illness to forgive. Because when you are sick, it is a humbling experience. And I know that sometimes we have interventions in our life, whatever you believe, but I'm going to tell you something. It helped me to really look at the situation and actually feel sorrow, compassion for the person who treated me very badly. Even today, I had my ex-husband recently apologize for the hurt that he caused me. I readily said, I forgive you. But now, when we say the words, I forgive you, does that mean that you want to go and have dinner with that person? If you do, that's fine. But are we talking about that? No. Forgiveness is a space where you are free. You don't look at that person as that's him. That's him. There was a show when I was growing up as a kid that was called That Girl. And before the show started, the guy who always had his eyes fixed on her, every time he saw her, he would point to her, that girl. Do we do that when it comes to people? Every time we see them, there they are, that person. So we stop doing that after we think about that person is not asphyxiated with us. They went on. They went on. And in a case of mine, that person was able to go on. That person wasn't able to help himself, let alone be in a well state. How are we doing? Are we going right back to the situation and allowing people to hurt us again. See, we learn boundary instead of saying, there he is, because every time you do that, it's like taking your fist. We've done this in class in our workshops before. I want all of you to close your fist, and I want you to close it, your fist, as tight as you can. Use all your strength, and now let go. How do you feel now? Did it hurt when you used all your strength to close your fist? That's how it feels. You're the only one affected by that. Good analogy. I like using that. Good morning and welcome into Vibe Talk Facing the Lion podcast. We're glad that you all are here. Now, when I ask you to close your fist as tight as you could, how did it feel, Trish?
Painful?
Yeah. And when you released it, how did it feel?
Relieving?
Yeah. Yeah. Imagine doing that every time you see that person. That's what you do to yourself. It affects you. Now, your feelings, learning to control them, we talk about this at any given time when you hear our podcast. But now, because it's Wednesday Wellness, here's the thing. Do you want to get well? Do you want to be well? And ultimately stay well. If you're on your wellness journey, you are moving toward healing yourself. Never mind the other person. You wish them well. And that's where I was. Because I could not forgive people. Because I think the shock that there are hurtful people on purpose bothered me. And I'm the type of person that is very analytical. I've got to understand why. And that experience taught me something. That the eyes that I had and the heart that I have, I could develop a forgiving attitude. I could say, I forgive you despite what you do, despite that you hurt me. And I could move forward. See, because I was on my healing journey. Does everybody get that? When does it begin for you to forgive, to be in that space of forgiveness? We are not doctors here, nor do we want to take the place of being doctors. I am just a wellness coach, learning to help you learn. How many times have you willfully had to set your feelings aside? A lot of times it happens with feelings in families. Families are sometimes tumultuous. Relationships outside of the family are sometimes tumultuous, but how many times have you put your feelings aside? When we think about willfully doing that, that takes work. Sometimes we put our feelings on the line and the same exact thing happens to us again. So we're not so willing to put our feelings out there. But if we know that something or someone has been hurtful, it's a triggering spot for us. So what do? We understand that people are imperfect. People make mistakes. We understand the world that we live in. What we have to do is create a safe space for us. I'm going to tell you something, and here it is. When you know that something has hurt you, and you have the same result of that something or someone, how do you feel when you keep going back to it with the same result? Anybody?
I feel tired of it. Like I'm just over it at that point.
Yeah, you're done. But now, there's no guarantee that that person is going to not hurt you, not create for you a place of disunity, dysfunction, or disconnection. You are in control of your emotion. You're working, you, yes, you're working on forgiveness, willfully putting aside the way of your feelings of hatred or resentful or disdain for that person. How do you prevent that? Space. How do you describe space? We're going to go back to our childhood for a moment. How many of you have played the game hopscotch?
I have.
Yeah, we're familiar with that. What happens in that game? What's the object of hopscotch?
You have to step in the squares in order.
Ah, now are the squares on top of each other?
No.
They are spaced apart, aren't they?
Yep.
Yeah, we must create space. I'll give you another childhood game. Tic tac toe. The X's and the O's. You know, we played that game for hours. They weren't on top of each other, they were spaced. We must create a safe space to understand our healing spaces. That means that you must be in control of your healing spaces so that you're able to do that. And in reality, you can do that in life with people. You don't have to double up with them. There is no way, no how, that I would ever think to get back with any of my exes. Why? Because I'm done. But that doesn't mean that I don't create a safe space for me. I can be cordial now. Sometimes there's a need to be silent when you're working on forgiveness, because sometimes that silence is helping the other person think about why you're silent. Because if you keep jumping into the fire, what happens? You're going to get burned. Can everybody take a way to build safe space for yourself? You know, a lot of us say, well, I need to forgive because God forgives. Yes, He does. In fact, the Bible says that Jehovah God forgives in a large way. But we're not God. And I've read that so many times in the Bible, and I just couldn't get there. I couldn't understand, but now I clearly understand because I needed counseling to understand why it was important for me to forgive. And the intervention really helped me to understand spiritually where I needed to be. Doesn't mean you're going to go out for ice cream. Doesn't mean we're going to go see our favorite movie. It just means that you are going to create safe space. You're going to have the freedom that you deserve to forgive others. If you've been struggling with this, I ask that you listen to this program again and again. We're going to be right back after this message. We're back. And when we think about forgiveness, we show responsibility. How many of you know that you're responsible? I do.
I do.
Yeah, got some responsible people. Don't shortchange yourself. But the responsibility to be able to understand and have compassion for what has happened, that's awareness. How about when you say a person didn't say, I'm sorry? That's where I'm at a lot of times now. I can't believe that a person cannot just say, I'm sorry for doing that.
I can relate to that.
And how does that make you feel? And you want to share that with us, Trish?
That makes me feel furious. Like, that's a pet peeve for me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because you see what happens? They start to shift the blame as if you were at fault. I honestly had this happen to me the other day, and I knew, well, we'll use the word well. No, this time it wasn't me. And I put that guilt or shame that they were trying to make me feel right back where it belonged. Because sometimes it's their feelings. Don't ever take that on if it's not your feelings. Because if they feel that way, you need to speak that by changing the game, saying, if you feel that way, I apologize for you feeling that way. You see what you just did? So maybe you don't feel like that. Maybe you know you had good intentions, but if your feelings are believing that I did that to you intentionally, I will apologize that you feel that way. See, you're having compassion because sometimes you deal with people, you and I deal with people who aren't remorseful. They just use the word, I'm sorry. But when I see people use, please forgive me, like my ex had did, and others, we're working with them today, those who ask of our forgiveness. Where do we go? Even when forgiving yourself, I want you to restore the relationship with you, yourself, and you. You know that word I told you to write, forgive? Now I want you to write forgiveness. When you have forgiven things, even if it's that one thing, you should be on that list if you are not forgiving of yourself. When you're able to forgive, you are able to grow as a person. And that's what happened to me. Even if people try to make me dislike someone by saying, remember what they did to you? Do you have those kind of people in your life? No, because I have created safe space. Then I'm not going to keep going back to being unwell. I'm going to wish them well, and in the meantime, stand my ground for allowing forgiveness to take place, even if it's with me. I want you to think about that and where that leads. How compassionate are you to you? Just like I felt compassion for the person or persons that I just couldn't stand, because how could they hurt people and just go on with their lives? I learned compassion. I want us to think about our room for self-forgiveness. If you aren't okay with yourself, I ask that you really think about things. Working on yourself to make yourself be the best that you can be. When we think about making amends, we're not saying you make amends and then you can be best friends again. Because believe me, when you are hurt by something, you will always be affected by that. It's like a person that maybe has had a tragic experience, car accident. Good morning and welcome. Thank you for joining. Marvin, where are you listening in from? And thank you for joining Vibe Talk as we talk about forgiveness. We must, ladies and gentlemen, we must grow as people. We must be able to give ourselves room to have compassion. Sometimes in life we learn to have compassion for others, but we dismiss ourselves. New York, thank you so much. We need to understand how to make ourselves well again by forgiveness. How important do you all think forgiveness is? Or is it important to you all? Because when you forgive, you are giving yourself permission to release your feelings of resentment toward whatever it was, whoever it was that harmed you. I'm going to say that one more time. When you forgive, you are deliberately releasing how you feel, your resentment toward a person or persons that have harmed you, without the stipulation that they forgive you too. You're working on your wellness. I want you to think about that. I thank you guys so much for giving me hearts. I love that you guys continue to come back to the podcast. Please, please, please go support our YouTube page today. Just click. And the reason why, because we have such a beautiful page. Thank you to my co-host, Trish, for that. We want you to think about the release that you feel, the anger that you may feel that someone or something did you wrong. You don't have to be the same way in order to forgive. Your forgiveness is important, or is it? It helps you to learn. It helps you not to be a victim. Most of all, it learns what my forgiveness taught me was compassion for another person. It was only then that I was able to forgive myself, to learn compassion, to learn, wow, that person has an illness. Wow. You don't have to be a victim. People have been victims of various abuses. And I want you today to work on your wellness by giving yourself permission to forgive yourself. Everybody get that? Give yourself permission to forgive yourself. When you have been wounded physically, it takes time to get well. In order to get well, there are procedures you must take and steps. If you were hurt or injured physically, the doctor is going to give you instructions. They call that aftercare. And we must do aftercare with our emotions. Always, ladies and gentlemen, aftercare. If you're listening to this podcast is supplementary to your aftercare. I like this. Thank you so much. We acknowledge that true wisdom comes from God and that Jesus Christ is the embodiment of that wisdom. And to trust in Christ and yield to his Holy Spirit as you walk in wisdom. I can't see your name here, but where are you listening in from? Thank you so much for that. Thank you for that. And can you tell me where you're listening in from, please? And thank you. Don't forget our Facebook pages that we have. We are streaming everywhere. Please and thank you. If you can tell me what your name is. Thank you, Marvin. Thank you so much. Grim? Okay, Grim, where are you listening in from, please, and thank you. Where are you listening? What part of the state are you from? No addresses, please. Thank you for your help, Marvin. And thank you guys for listening. So we have to remember West Coast, me too. West Coast, thank you for being in here. We have to let these experiences that have caused us not to forgive, not overtake us. We are stronger and we learn to control our emotions, we don't say, well, that didn't happen. That's not what I want to bring to you here today. I want you to become stronger and understand your power that you have to forgive. But let's start with forgiving ourselves. Here's another factor that happens to so many people. You get people who are couples, married couples, and they say, he or she cheated. What do? How do you forgive the other person? Even though there's no reason under the sun that I could think of, people do it every day. But if you cheat, be honest. Why did you cheat? Working toward forgiveness, if your partner is going to forgive you or not. We want you to learn to be honest because you had a reason for it or they had a reason for it. Listen to the reason, as hard as it may be. Speaking from experience. That way you have some healing that you can work on together. Being honest. That's what it requires for Vibe Talk. You all to be honest with yourselves. Being honest. Past mistakes. Your personal past mistakes that have affected you. When's the last time that you have apologized to yourselves? Anybody? Anybody ever apologize to themselves? Because I hear you saying forgive yourself, but have you actually apologized to yourself?
I have.
Yeah, what was that like? Marvin says, nope. Thank you, Marvin. I want to read Grimm's comment. People cheat because they fail to communicate or even lacking of understanding. Uh, okay, thank you for that. How many of you guys? And we're going back to my co-host, Trish. You said you have.
Yes, I have.
Okay. Can you elaborate on that, please and thank you?
Sure. I've apologized to myself before, and I needed to do that because that's actually a step to forgive myself as well, to apologize to me. And that was also um it was relieving, and it was also the source of my inner peace, apologizing to myself.
I've had to apologize to others, including myself. And even though I'm not best friends with the other person, I can now stand to talk to that person. See, even your life coach has had to deal with that. We know that self-forgiveness is challenging, as well as forgiving others who have wronged you. But today is a day of healing. We're going to be right back with Trisha's Treasures. We'll be right back. Stay tuned. Don't go anywhere after these messages. Cause we're called vibetalkfacingthelionpodcast. Come set your favorite streaming platforms. Feel free to be interactive and tell us your stories. Spotify, iHeartRadio, are back, and we're going to turn it over to Trish's treasures. Trish?
Forgiveness. Today was it was different for me because my logic of showing forgiveness to other people just switched. Like like it's a different point of view. Like when I forgave people, I thought because I forgive them, I have to always include them in my life, and I always had to have a certain spot for them to prove to them I do forgive you and my loyalty towards them, and to prove mostly to myself if I actually did forgive them. Because I always told myself, if you actually do forgive this person, their presence won't bother you. Or when you talk to them, you won't feel so upset, or you won't remember the flashbacks of the pain they caused. And in reality, their presence did bother me. And it wasn't because I forgave them, it's because I still remembered and I didn't forget. And when little things came up, like arguments and things, it felt like I was repeating things. Like I was repeating what happened before. But that's what happens when I don't forgive people mentally and emotionally. It seems like we're repeating the same story because I'm so scared of them hurting me again or feeling hurt from them again. And that's normal. And I don't always have to forgive people automatically, but I think it's best to. But it's also important for me to express how they made me feel. And that's actually on my list of what to forgive myself for. Not expressing how I feel and keeping silent when I should have spoken up and told them how they affected me. And I also wrote to forgive myself for not having boundaries. And I learned today that having boundaries after forgiving somebody is okay. It doesn't mean that I forgive them any less. It just means that I'm protecting my peace. And when you forgive, forgiving is a whole different source of healing. And it's important. It's very valid because when you forgive yourself, it'll be easy to forgive other people and move on. Like they're moving on from when they hurt you, you can also move on and continue to live your life in your peace.
Everybody get that? When you hear the sound of the lion's roar, that means that you have lion power. And that's why we are facing our lions. Today was about facing forgiveness and having explanations of what that really means. Thank you so much for that, Trish. If you want to hear this podcast again, it's being recorded, by the way, so that you know. And you can listen to us on YouTube if you're here. Please do me a favor. And Trish, if you like this podcast, please go to our YouTube page, click like. We want as much support. Trish has done a beautiful job in creating our web page. You'll see it on Vibe Talk Facing the Lion. Please go and click like. That's all you have to do. And you're going to be able to see what Vibe Talk is all about. Click our social medias. I want to say thank you for you guys being so open, so honest. It takes real lion courage. Your benefits of forgiving the other party frees you. You you learn to forgive others as you learn to forgive yourself. What is it that you need to thank you so much for that? What is it that you need to forgive? Only you know what is on your list. One more last question of the day as we end our podcast. What did you learn and discover about yourself in this podcast on forgiveness? What did you learn about yourself? Anybody can go. I learned about myself that forgiveness was a challenge. And I had to admit that. Because after all, I'm just human. And there is somebody that needs my forgiveness as I need their forgiveness. So I'm not too big to seek forgiveness. And I can really relate to Trish when Trish said, forgiveness does not mean that you go back to the person. That's your choice. It just means protecting yourself. And if we know how to do that, we truly are survivors. As you're right, our audience member says forgiveness is a great uh, attribute. Yes, yes, forgiveness is a great attribute. Um, and they say, especially in women, I'm reading other people's comments, and we're going to be respectful of everybody. And no worries. No worries. I thank you for being here, and thank you for your honesty. We appreciate each and every one of you. We're always here. Vibe Talk is always um, interactive. Even when we're not here live, you guys can still put in your answers. Um, I'm looking to see when you forgave, it gave you grace. Yes, that's it. Thank you for that. Forgiveness of others and yourself gives you peace and grace. And thinking about the things that you need to forgive yourself for, um, whatever they are, means freeing of yourself. And with that, we say get well, stay well, and be well. Trish, did I ask you yet what you learned from this program
No.
and how did it make you feel? It makes me feel free that I'm able to discuss it all with you all. Go ahead, Trish.
I learned that forgiveness is a part of self-care, and I've discovered that when I forgive people, that it's okay to not forgive them immediately because it'll make them feel better, but I have to take my time and be patient with myself and how I feel about the person. And when I do forgive them, it is my peace, but also when they come to me and say, I need you to forgive me, to accept that and be compassionate towards them, because I've had that been done to me before. They ask for my forgiveness, and I always forgive them because they need that, but I learned today that I also need that. And my experience here today was also freedom. I felt free because seeing what I need to forgive in me and actually forgiving me, that is freedom.
I always want to thank all of you, especially my co-host Trish, for being here, for helping me to bring Vibe Talk alive. You all get to be in this virtual group. We do workshop. I want you to feel free to express yourself. The reason we ask you to go to our YouTube channel, because even when we're not here, you can comment there. We see your comments. We will always read your comments. Those of you who stayed in here, we appreciate you. We had someone in here from Lithuania. Wow. So we're getting people everywhere. We thank you for that. If you haven't said where you're from, please put it in your comments. And thank you all for the hearts. The hearts to me mean so much. Because you know what? Every human has a heart. And on Saturday night, as I am hosting our newest radio show, that you can make dedication and have inspirational stories and music, of course. I say every human has a heart. So if you're listening right now, please throw up the hearts, only because you listened. Um, I thank you guys so much for everything that you have done by listening. Uh, Someone says, thanks for sharing. You're so very welcome. Thank you for sharing. Your being here means so much. Thank you for sharing. Um, Trying to read your comments. Thank you for the hearts. And we only mention the hearts because by you putting up those hearts, that represents humanity to me. Whether you like our channels or not, Vibe Talk is all about being in your feelings. And you guys are brave to be able to just be in your feelings. You know what I mean? You all are so brave to do that. And for next time, we'll be right here. Go check out our YouTube channel, our Instagram channel. Costs you nothing. If you guys ever feel like you want to donate, we do have that. And of course, we turn it right back into Vibe Talk. Thank you so much. Um, um, you say courageous people, just do it. Thank you for that. I love that. And Trish, do you want to have any concluding words? Thank you guys for the hearts. Really appreciate that.
I would like to say thank you guys for being interactive with us. We are an interactive stream, and I'm glad that people are actually interacting with us. It makes me happy. And hearing your intake on the topic is always important to us because this podcast is for you, not just for us, for your healing as well.
Thank you for mentioning that. Go check us out. Add yourselves to our page. We'd love to have you, and we want you to be a regular part of our audience when you can. I want to say thanks, everybody. I wish you to be well, get well, and stay well. Until next time, I challenge you to all wellness. Have a great day. And thank you. Bye-bye for now. Because I don't want you just to make a resolution. I want to think about. I was really bad the moms and then I got the vibe with it. I really took the time with it. I'm thinking of the ride with me. 3 years, really got the vibe with it. Took the time with it. I really let the ride with it. You can probably see I'm ready, you. When you get the vibe with it, yeah.